What's up, YouTube? Try this again. So I'm going to show you today how I sharpen my 125 grain single bevel cutthroat broadheads. This will work with any single bevel broadhead. I've sharpened my buddies, what are they, Grizzly Stick Samurai, his 125s. I also have some Grizzly Stick 175s. I have a set of 250 grain cutthroat single bevel. So this works with any single bevel broadhead if you just use this method that I'm going to show you. The easiest way that I found to sharpen these is to get you a KME sharpening guide. So if you don't have a KME, watch the video and then see how easy it is, and then I would suggest going ahead and buying one. I've tried a couple different methods. I've tried by hand on a good set of stones I have. I've tried just with a file, but it's hard to keep the correct angle. I mean, I can do it, but this right here really holds the angle for you, and just it'll get it hair popping, razor sharp. So let's talk about what you're gonna need. So you're gonna need your KME. You're gonna need whatever broadhead you're sharpening, obviously. Get you a Sharpie marker so you can mark the edge, which I'll show you, and you can see if you're on the right angle or not. And then I prefer lately to use sandpaper. It just makes things way easier. I started out when I did sandpaper, I was only using I think like 400 grit and then 600 and 1000, but I found that it takes way less time to go very aggressive on your sandpaper grit. So start out with like 220 and then maybe go to like 320 and then 4, then 6, then 1000, and you just have to work way less, right? So instead of sitting here and it taking 30 minutes to sharpen a head, you can do it in 5 minutes or whatever. I guess we're going to see how long it takes me here, but I'm going to just show you how dull this head is. This head is one that I have been using since I bought these. I bought 2 packs of these. I have 6 broadheads from Cutthroat that are 125. I have a lot more, but these 125s, I have 6 of them. And this one I used since the beginning to just tune my arrows. So this thing's been shot into the ground, into the target, all over the place. So you can see the edge is rolled right here. I mean, it's not sharp at all. So I wanted to show you that before we get started, so you can see. I mean, this thing won't. It's not even sharp enough to. Really, I can't even cut my finger with it. Probably if I tried. So, all right, let's get started here. Quit rambling on. So, when you buy a KME, there's 2 different style heads that they have. They have a just the regular head that comes on the KME, which works great for different. So like the if you have a 125 grain Samurai by Grizzly Stick, the regular claws work fine with those. The 250 grain Cutthroat, it works good with those too. But this smaller, more aggressively angled head, the shorter head, you need their, I think they call it their Delta clamps. So that's why I wrote on here 125 grain for the Delta clamps. I think you can make the other ones work, but these are just way easier. So I started out by trying to set it up the same way every time. So whenever I put it in my clamp, I line up the back of the ferrule here with the shallow edge. And all you have to do really to figure out what angle you need is try to keep the edge of your blade here the same as the bottom of your sharpening guide here. So if this is flat and this is flat, you should be pretty close. So I'm going to move this out just a little bit. That looks flat to me. And then take your wrench here, tighten it down, and I try to tighten this up about as tight as I can get it by hand. That way it just doesn't move around any. It just helps speed things along and keep it the same angle. So put my KME together. Now the trick to the KME is when you click this in, there's a little plastic retainer on the back side of this that keeps this from popping out. So I screw the black nut in, and then once it pops all the way through, then I back it out to tighten it up against the plastic piece, and I back it out until there's no play anymore. So I'm pulling in and out on this, and there's no play. So it can still swivel, but it's not bouncing back and forth. That way, whenever you're dragging your broadhead to sharpen it, you're not changing the angle by letting this move in and out. So you're gonna take your Sharpie, you're gonna mark the edge up. Man, that edge is very rolled. I don't know if you guys, maybe you can see it better now that I've marked it. That edge is super rolled. This one's gonna be kind of fun to see it come back to life. Before I get started, sorry for rambling on, I'll tell you why I've been using sandpaper for the most part. Is because it's very easy to get an edge back, and it's also easy to carry around. It's virtually weightless. So my local hardware store has these smaller sets of sandpaper, and whenever I go on out-of-stick hunts, I have this ammo can here that I carry all my stuff, such as extra broadheads, extra string for my trad bow, just all kind of things, different inserts, feathers, all the things that I would possibly need as far as spare parts go. And these small strips of sandpaper fit right in the box and close it up, and they don't weigh anything, so I can take a whole pack of this, you know, multiple sets of 400, 600, 1,000, and then I can just drop it in the top, and it's not taking up much room, and it's fairly lightweight, so it's very portable. So, but if one is this bad, you definitely want to start with some 220 or something very aggressive. All right, so let's start on a 220. And I'm always going to be pulling whenever I'm sharpening a single bevel. Another thing that I kind of had to figure out by trial and error is you would think that, say you're pressing down on this and you're pulling, you would think that that would keep the angle on here, you know, the angle would be the angle, but I found that that's not really the case. Whenever I'm doing it, I hold my 2 fingers on it, and I'll pull one time putting more pressure with this finger, and then I'll pull again putting more pressure with this finger. So I'll get pressure on the back, pressure on the front, pressure on the back, pressure on the front, and it just keeps things more even. So let's pull it real quick. All right, you can see here that my angle is way too high because I'm only hitting the back of the broadhead here. See if you can see that. So see the Sharpie is still all across the blade, and I'm only hitting the back edge. So how you fix that is undo this screw, and we're gonna go forward a little bit with this. Try it again. I got a little better. Let's try it one more time. Okay, and you come a little more. All right, there we go. So pulled it that time. You can see I hit the whole edge, but you can see the front and the back of my broadhead. It didn't take the Sharpie all the way off. So that goes back to what I was saying about putting pressure on the front, pressure on the back. All right, so I'm gonna mark it up one more time, just to make sure I have the right angle. And I'll recheck my angle with every head I got. They're all supposed to be the same, like 25-degree angle. But with these cutthroats, what I've noticed is that's not always the case, right? I think they use some sort of a belt sander to sharpen these things from the factory. So you'll get kind of a little bit of a weird sloped edge on here out of the package. And I'll show you how to fix that also. So anyways, all right. Straight here. All right, perfect. So that went all the way across the edge. So now I'm going to go pressure on the back, pressure on the tip, pressure on the back, pressure on the tip, pressure on the back, pressure on the tip, pressure on the back, pressure on the tip. And I'm just going to keep alternating. Okay, and it won't take very much. What you're looking for is for a burr on the back. So you'll be able to feel with your finger, or sometimes I'll take a piece of paper and I'll slide it on the back whenever I get down to lower grits, and the paper will catch the burr. Now I have a burr up top already, but where this edge was rolled, I'm gonna hit it some more because there's definitely not a burr there. So. This one's so dull, it's probably going to take quite a bit of work. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but I just tried to fill the burr, and you can see the metal actually coming off with my finger. So I got a good burr going there. I'm just kind of pulling it off with my finger to show you. Hopefully you guys can see it. Now let me feel the back. Back edge is pretty rolled up, so I think I went far enough here. So that's how quick it goes when you're using an aggressive grit. Now if I started out with 400 grit or 600 like I see some people do, it takes a lot of work to get your burr, and then it's harder to fill. So start with some 220 and you'll save yourself a lot of work. A lot of elbow grease will be negated. Alright, so this is probably good here. Just get a couple more and fill the edge. Let's get the back worked in. Alright, that's perfect. Now, this right here is the key to sharpening a single bevel. A lot of times people don't know what to do with the back edge. Do you just leave it alone? Do you flip your KME over and sharpen the back? Well, see that angle that you would have on the back? You don't want that. You want to keep the back edge of a single bevel as flat as you can. So the way I do it is I take a stone or the edge of my table. This table is rolled. It's been a router has been ran on it to knock the sharp edge down, and I want something with a sharp edge, so I usually just lay my sandpaper on the edge of my stone like that, leave my broadhead in my KME, and I'll just lay it flat. Let me get to the edge of the table so I can get to it. Pick this up so you can see a little better. Oh, hold on, sorry. There we go. So I'll lay my stone down, and I'll put my sandpaper on the edge, and then I'll lay my broadhead flat, as flat as I can, and I'll just run it a few times. Now, what you're going to notice is when you do it, you'll see, hopefully you can see the edge there. You'll actually see, especially against black, especially against the black sandpaper, you'll be able to see that edge roll back over, and then you'll know that you did a good job. Now this is gonna take off some of the finish on the back side of your broadhead, but do you want a sharp broadhead or a pretty broadhead, right? That's what I asked myself whenever I did it. So this one is done. The edge is rolled back, so I'll take it, roll it back over, and I'll usually hit it one more time on here. Real light pressure, real slow. So one on the back, one on the front, and then with the same grit, I'll do one time to flatten the back again. So basically I'm just rolling that edge back to the front. Alright, we're done with the 220. Next grit I have is a 320, and doesn't really seem like much numbers wise, but if you feel these, the 320 is a big difference, and I actually think a lot of work is done on 320. Alright, make sure you don't have anything under your paper here. I had a little piece of metal or something under there. So, it don't take much. once you started with that 320. So go about, I don't know, whatever feels good to you. You can kind of get a feel for it after you've been sharpening a while. You can tell, you can see the edge roll up, and then you can feel it with your fingers, and you can kind of tell whenever it's done. And that's all I'm going to do on the 320. All right, go back to the back side. So you want to hit the front, and then when you hit the back with the same grit. So here we go. Find that edge, or find the not the edge, the angle. That's what I meant to say. Hit it on there a few times. I'm not pushing real hard, but I'm not pushing too light either. It's hard to explain. Maybe about, I don't know, 8 pounds of pressure or so, I would say. About 5 times. Hit the back once. Let's go twice. Okay. Now we're done with the 320. Next step's gonna be, I got some 600 there. Just hit it with 400 real quick. And another thing you'll notice about sandpaper is it's almost always wide enough for your broadhead. I mean, see, this is a small piece of sandpaper, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches wide, probably 4 inches wide. But sometimes you can get a stone and it's hard to find a stone wide enough. So like this stone is barely wide enough just for this little 125. So if I go to like my 250 or the 175 grizzly stick, it's not wide enough to hit the whole thing, but sandpaper always is. So pull it on this 400 a few times. And again, I'm hitting back edge, pressure with my index finger here, and then my middle finger, I'm hitting the front edge. Okay, looking pretty good. Put it right on the edge again. And we're gonna knock that burr down. Hit it on the front. Hit it on the back one more time. Okay, done with that. Let's go to 600. Pull it a few times. When you get down to this point, you're going to see a lot more metal shavings falling off because the edge of your broadhead is already worked, right? And now you got this burr on the top. Every time you sharpen this edge, your burr goes to this side. Every time you drag the back, the burr kind of rolls over. So it's just like a piece of metal you're trying to break off. You're rolling it back and forth, and now it's getting to where you've done it 5 or 6 times, and it's starting to break off. So you'll actually notice. I'm sure you can't see it in the video, but there's actually a lot of little shiny pieces of metal, and that burr is just kind of slicking off as I pull it. And of course it's kind of hard to think about sharpening and talk at the same time, but the edge is definitely coming off, and it's starting to look pretty good. So hit the back. Don't take much on the back, 2 or 3. Sometimes I'll go all the way to 5, but just kind of get a feel for it. Drag it on the front a few more times. Hit the back. Don't take much. Alright, and the final sandpaper step, 1000 grit. This is just basically polishing it. It's not doing a lot of work, but it's making it to where you can get that razor's edge here. I usually spend a little bit more time on this one, just kind of finishing it up. Oh yeah, it's almost to a mirror polish already. You can see it shining there in my light, and then you can right there you can see the edge of the burr just kind of coming off. Probably just saw it come off in my hand. So, back on the edge of the table here. And you'll notice that burr gets finer and finer as you go. So when you do it with the 220, it kind of looks rough and ragged. And then whenever you get to the 1000 grit, it's just a very fine edge of metal that you're just kind of taking back and forth. Which is why this next part is so important. There you go. You can see the pieces of the burr just coming off. That's why this part right here is so important. Alright, so if you stopped here, this feels sharp. Feels very sharp, but I can clearly see the burr going back and forth. I can see the edge, and then, you know, just a tiny little couple thousandths on the edge of the blade there. I can see the burr moving back and forth. So I'll do the same thing here. Now I go a lot lighter pressure. Now how a strop works is you're pulling, and I try to use soft leather because you want the soft leather to wrap a little bit. Say you're pulling the blade, you want it to wrap a little bit and take off that that burr. But if you push too hard, it'll wrap and it'll actually curl into your blade. So you don't want that. So you just real light pressure, and where I say about 8 pounds on the sandpaper, I go not even like 3 pounds, like just barely. You want the leather to do the work for you on the strop, and you can actually see pieces of metal flaking off as you pull it. See, metal. See if I can get it to shine at you in the light. Oh, there it is. See the metal burr just flaking off there. And I'll do the same thing with my strop. Put it on the edge of the table, put it on the side here, and I'll just go a few times. And then I try to watch, see the metal coming off. It's coming off just fine. And I can still see a burr, so I'm going to do this until I can't see a burr. Now, you kind of hear my KME starting to squeak. Whenever I first got this thing out of the package, it was very squeaky. So I just oil it a little bit, and then every once in a while I'll have to re-oil it to keep that squeak down. If not, it gets extremely annoying when you're trying to sharpen, especially if you're trying to do a whole set of broadheads. There we go. I always try to end on this way. So I'll go one more here, back side, and I'll just do one more here, real light. Now, you can hopefully see the difference here. I mean, it's almost a mirror polish now. And now we're going to test it, so give me 1 second. Alright, I'm back with you. Got a phone call there. Alright, so now we'll take this piece of paper here and we'll try it. Oh yeah, it's looking good. I could probably get it to cut a little better if I took it out of this KME, but I don't really want to take it out yet because I'm not sure if I'm done. So I usually test it in here, and what I want is, as soon as I push it into this paper, which is what I'm checking now, it digs right in. I mean, this is a very sharp broadhead. Kind of cuts right through, so I'll fill it. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's real sharp. Now I don't have a lot of hair on my arms, but try it on my finger here. So it's not quite sharp enough yet, because when I get it real sharp, it slicks these fine hairs off my finger. So what I'll do is, I'm done with sandpaper, I'll just keep stropping. Real light pressure, front and back. And I'll hit the back again. Alright, let's try that. Let's try it on my arm here. Oh, not quite. It is picking up some hairs, but I want it to slick like a razor blade. And I think it's sharp. Now, one thing you'll notice when you start sharpening single bevels and get them really sharp, they actually won't feel as sharp as you would traditionally think that a sharp blade should feel. Like when you say, well, me for instance, when I was a kid, if I felt the edge, like I sharpened my knife and I felt the edge of my knife and it grabbed my finger, I thought, hey, that's sharp. That feels sharp, like it's about to cut the end of my finger off as I'm touching it. But if you get a single bevel razor blade sharp, it won't feel as sharp because there's no burr to catch your finger. So it'll feel clean and it'll feel kind of slick. And whenever you put it on against your arm, oh yeah, look at that. So that's slicking my hair right off. Like it's not even, I don't have to push, I don't have to put pressure down on my arm, I just kind of barely do it. So let's try the paper one more time just so you'll be able to see. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so it's actually could use a little more work because whenever you get it extra sharp and perfect, you can't hear it catching the paper. There's no sound, it'll slick right through it. And it's a little easier to do when you take it out of the sharpener. Because you can actually hold the right angle. You can just hold the blade and do the angle. It's kind of hard to get it with the sharpener, or with the KME. But this is definitely sharp enough to hunt with. I would kill a deer with this any day of the week. So I'm gonna hit it one more time there. I'm gonna do once on the back here, once on the front, and she's good to go. So what I do after that is I push the back down, it pops the head out. Like that, and we'll loosen that up, and then you'll just flip it over and you'll do the same thing to the other side. So there's really no comparison. Obviously this back side here is not even sharp enough to, I mean, it'll kind of cut the paper a little bit, but that's a dull blade. That's the difference. That's dull from the factory basically, and this is the new edge. Alright, so you just want it to slick right through the paper. Like so. Wow. Let's see, let's try this one. Try this way. Oh, I'm using the wrong edge. That's one of my ones to cut. There we go. That's what you want it to do. You just want it to cut right through. So, hope this video helped. And hopefully it helps you out this year a little bit. I'll probably roll some footage in here, maybe in the video before this, but you'll see the buck that I shot. this year who made it about 20 yards, and I had my broadhead this sharp when I shot him, and so you know that it works. That's it. That's all I got to say. So like and subscribe, and hopefully this video helps you out some. So have a good day.